On today's show, Tasmania doubles down on renewable power, more EVs announced but only one is for Australia, and more of that and a lot more. Welcome everyone, my name is Chris and this is your show about everything happening in the space of renewable technologies like electric vehicles, batteries, solar, wind and more. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. It does seriously support the channel. And if you want to join these guys over on Patreon for as little as a coffee a month, you can get exclusive behind the scenes access, early content and more. And thanks to Ashley and also Tessa and the Gom for supporting me at the producer level where they get the names read out for every new show that I do. So thanks guys, I really do appreciate it. Okay, so let's get into the news. First up, our little neighbour across the Tasman Sea is doing it for Australia. Tasmania announced that by 2040 it will produce 200% renewable energy for not only themselves but also the whole country. How? Well, by doubling down on the state's hydro, wind, solar and more. Announced on Tuesday, the 3rd of March, Premier Peter Goodwin said that his government was looking at surpassing its 100% 2022 renewable energy target and will release an updated version of it next month. This will make them the renewable energy powerhouse of Australia. So how are they going to achieve this? Well, in several parts. First, they're going to invest more than $50 million into a renewable hydrogen production plant. That will mean that Tasmania becomes an exporter of renewably sourced hydrogen, which could be exported around the world. And this will obviously take some time and won't be up and running till 2030, but in doing so, it will actually create hundreds of local jobs and inject billions of dollars into the Tasmanian economy. Another part of the project will be the Marinus Link. That's the second interconnector linking Tasmania with mainland Australia so that they can export all of the energy to the main grid. This in itself will provide more than 1,400 new jobs. And will complete this equation is like wind farms, like the 112 megawatt Granville Harbour wind farm. So all in all, we're talking about thousands of jobs, billions in investment, but also revenues that will support the economic prosperity of Australia and provide fair dinkum energy, as well as security with the energy to the rest of Australia. And meanwhile, we have a backward federal government who believes that the only way to achieve these truly aspirational goals, like in Tasmania, is to support coal and gas. Yeah, well, indeed, this is actually a great news story and a very good segue to my next news story, where PricewaterhouseCoopers and Jacobs Consultancy, who have demonstrated that displacing coal with renewables is more lucrative for the economy and can get us a high yield of renewable power sooner. How? Well, what they did was they modelled what would happen if coal and gas plants were replaced at a similar ratio to what they have been lately, and also injecting new renewable projects into that mix, okay? That they called the reference case. In another, they did the replacement of retiring coal and gas plants with renewables, and they even did a stretch version where thermal plant closures, that's these things, would be closed more rapidly and replaced with renewables. So, wait a second. Hey, Scott Morrison and Angus Taylor, are you paying attention? Good, listen up. What they found was that either of the renewable models would actually have a bigger economic benefit when compared to continuing what we did now. All right. In doing so, it will mean that Australia can have an 80% renewable energy system by 2040, and GDP will get a boost of more than double instead of sticking with coal and gas. So let's just all let that sink in for a moment. Sticking with our rudderless plan of coal and gas and replacing them with, the same, means that you get a GDP of $6.2 billion. Whereas with renewable energy sources, that figure is either $13.2 billion or $14.8 billion, depending on where you put the smart money. Okay? And if we stick with the dinosaurs, our renewable energy mix will only get to 60% by 2040. It sounds outlandish, right? Well, tell me again, Mr. Prime Minister, about economic vandalism, jobs, and keeping the lights on. I must point out that the authors state that in their modelling, they were conservative in their estimates and they used data from AEMO and other published sources of, data that have been across like the last 18 months or so. So there are a few talking points that I'd like everyone to take away from this, and they are: the cost of investing more heavily in renewables is only marginally more expensive, like less than 1%, than the reference case. And it enables Australia to reach almost 80% renewable generation by 2040, resulting in emission reductions from 68% from power generation levels of 2005. All scenarios show positive economic returns compared to the reference case when focusing on GDP. Think of that number, 14.8 billion for accelerated renewables, down to only 6.2 billion for the coal scenario. Better yet, with this accelerated transition, Australia could see even stronger economic and, emission benefits, moving to a 90% renewable power system by 2040, adding $15 billion to GDP and enabling increased spending by Australians of $11 billion. Okay, next up, Nigel Farrier, one of my awesome Patreons from WA, went to the Australian Electric Vehicle Association's event of the Perth Electrikhana late last week, and he took this footage of the actual event. Various cars, both from car makers who make EVs through to people who have modified their cars, were there. And this here is a Model 3 by Gemtech, who took it to the Targa Rally and came in 7th place out of a fleet of like 100. And check out this DCV, 2CV. Pretty awesome, huh? So Nigel and others had the EVs available for people to have a test ride in. And this is an interesting one, a 4 kilowatt solar EV charger, which in the outpack where there might not be any grid power whatsoever, is actually a really great option. So thanks to Nigel for sending that in. And look, hey guys, if you have a story that you want me to feature or just even a lead on one, please do put it down below and I'll take a look at it. I don't always reply to all the comments, but I do actually see them. And like some of the stuff that you send this show has actually come from viewers like yourself. So please put it down below and let's keep this going. Well, that's probably a very good opportunity to get onto, mail time. And kicking off with my last news episode that I did around about EV incentives, Michael Fink writes, not only do we not have decent EV incentives in Australia, but a road tax specifically aimed at EVs has been proposed. We seem to be the only country considering EV disincentives. And oh my gosh, late last year, Infrastructure Partnerships Australia floated this idea to have EVs hit with a road user charge, and has modelled a fee of like 4 cents a kilometre or about $800 a year based upon 20,000 kilometres travelled. And this is telling. The lobby is actually only targeting electric vehicles only, like battery electric only. They're not doing hybrids, they're not talking about fuel efficient cars, and definitely not internal combustion engine cars. So why is that? It seems very NQR to me. On my Powerwall 2 video, the regular car guy wrote, can your Tesla vehicle power the house if need be? And look, in theory, yes, it definitely could, because let's face it, it's a massive battery. But that said, I believe you need to have some hardware within the car to enable bi-directional charging, and that's currently only featured, to my knowledge, within the Nissan Leaf 2. Also, with your house, you need a special sort of charger that can actually take the power from it, integrate with your fuse box and stuff like that, and send power into the house. No doubt this is going to be the future of it, but that said, I'm kind of cognizant of the fact that those people with Model S and X's that have lifetime charging, couldn't they capitalize on this, go get a free charge somewhere else, bring their electricity home and then use it in their house? That's kind of maybe not very fair, or not fair usage rather. I don't know, you let me know. Typically, most supercharger locations are actually renewably powered, so I don't have an issue with that aspect of it. It's more around the economics, and that ultimately someone has to pay for this somewhere. And if someone's basically getting free electricity for their car and for the home, it's going to have a downstream impact upon the small user. And at the moment, Model 3 people can't actually get that lifetime free supercharging. So they're the ones who are going to be penalised, and with the Model Y coming online very soon for America, and who knows when in Australia, that will be the same sort of iteration there. So hey, great idea, but just not ready for prime time just yet. Ken Dibble writes, What is the battery type in the Powerwall 2? Is it nickel, cobalt, aluminium, or... And more to that, it's actually the 2170 lithium-ion battery that you find in Tesla Model 3s. And so yeah, it's one of those things I actually had a fear about buying the Powerwall 2 because I was aware that Tesla had, well, Elon Musk rather, had suggested they go do the battery investor day. And that was supposed to be late last year in about September. And I thought, okay, they're going to be announcing their, new type of battery, and it's going to be more dense. And the first Powerwall versus second Powerwall, they basically more than doubled its storage. And I thought to myself, I'm going to be missing out on this, but I learned that they actually have those 2170 cells on them. So I was pretty confident that no major changes will be coming. But that said, hey, the April Investor Day should be very, very interesting indeed. Okay, that will do it for mail today. And as always, if you want to have your comment read online, read out loud on the show rather, put it down below. You never know, I might just reply to you directly. Anyway, let's get into some more news, and well, this one I'm very excited about, and that is the Fiat 500. In what is like a rather confident move, and very welcome one by Fiat, they're moving away from internal combustion engine versions of this iconic Fiat 500 to all electric versions. Unveiled last week, the new model will include up to 320 kilometers of WLTP range, or a 400 kilometer on a city cycle, a maximum speed of 148 kilometers per hour, and acceleration from 0 to 100 in 9 seconds, and a 0 to 50 time in just 3.1 seconds. The 500 will have level 2 autonomous driving as standard, meaning that the vehicle can control both steering and acceleration or deceleration, much like Tesla's. The new Fiat 500 will have 3 driving modes: normal, range, and Sherpa. Now, Sherpa is kind of a questionable use of a car mode that represents something very different to me. Fiat says that it optimizes available resources to reduce energy consumption to a minimum, enabling it to reach the destination set on the navigation system or to the nearest charging station. Okay, so I get it, but really, if I was a Sherpa, would I be offended? What Fiat has done is incorporated a mode that limits top speed to 80 kilometers per hour. The accelerated response is managed in order to reduce energy consumption, and deactivation of both the climate control systems and the heated seats occurs as well. So let me know, what would you call this system? Sherpa? Me? No, but I'll leave it up to you guys. Internally, I love this car. I saw a modified one at last year's EV Expo in Melbourne, and well, this is right up there with a premium feel and layout. Featuring the new Uconnect 5 entertainment system with a 7-inch TFT display, radio, DAB radio that is, 10.25-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay, and yes, wireless Android Auto. Cool stuff indeed. The new 500 lineup will feature a few different variants, including a hybrid version that will only be available for a few years before they go fully electric by 2023. The La Prima, the full option convertible one, looks great, and well, when they get this to market, will actually be the only electric 4-seater convertible available. It comes complete with the above specifications as standard, as well as interior eco leather, dashboard, and seats. The cars will be produced at Turin, Italy at the, hold on a second, I'm going to butcher this, the Miraflore, sorry, plant over there in Turin. Yeah, let's just scrap that all together, shall we? Priced from $54,000 Australian, they're going on sale in 2021, and well, unfortunately for us Aussies, they haven't confirmed if it's going to be coming here down under. Okay, ready to be shocked and awed? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the new BMW i4. I reckon that thing looks like a pig's nose. What do you think? That's better. Unveiled last week, the BMW concept i4 vehicle will bring electric mobility to the heart of the BMW brand. That's their words, not mine. The car from the side and rear looks great, looking like a cross between a Grand Coupe and a fastback roofline. With 4 doors, the i4 offers, well, if they fix that front end, it should attract a lot of interested buyers with its fast acceleration from 0 to 100 km per hour in about 4 seconds and an estimated range of 600 kilometers. BMW has sold more than 140,000 electrified vehicles last year and is pushing hard to become profitable in the sector in the near future. Build electric cars, they said. It'll be easy, they said. So, the interior, again, looks great with a cabin that centers around the driver with a curved display and screen grouping to optimize information and make touch operation more intuitive. Series production of the new BMW i4 will begin in 2021 at the BMW Group's main plant in Munich. And whilst an exact date for Australia isn't firm, 2022 is being suggested by Mike Costello from Car Advice. And well, sticking with the i4 and a follow-up on stories I've covered in the last year on EVs and artificial sound, it seems that BMW is indeed confirmed my suspicion on why they're adding a Hans Zimmer sound to their car. Safety? Nope. Ironically, Jens Thiemer, the Senior Vice President for Customer Brand at BMW, says that the silence of the electric drive system is often cited as a major benefit of electric mobility. Yes, it is, Jens. It really is. So, why do BMWs need artificial sounds? Well, because as he puts it, some drivers are missing out on the emotional appeal of sound. Sound has always played an important role in our emotionalization of our vehicles. We are taking the joy of sheer driving pleasure to a new level and are particularly pleased to be working with Hans Zimmer to create the new sound world of electric mobility at BMW. This collaboration will result in our forward-looking sound offering for electrified vehicles. The BMW Iconic Sounds Electric. Are you for real? A characteristic of expensive cars like Rolls-Royce, Maybachs and more is that they have near silent interiors. People like silence. People pay for silence. They like the serenity. This does nothing but annoy me. You want to listen? Okay. Be prepared to be underwhelmed. What do you think?
All right.
In a recent press statement, Hans Zimmer and Renzo Vitali were inspired to bring together the past and future of BMW sound, noting that they hope the sound is both classic yet surprising and has a feeling of lightness and fitting the BMW brand. No. He goes on to say that the oral repertoire of the BMW Concept i4 stretches from the driving sounds in the experience mode, that is core, to the more intense tones of sport, and also includes acoustic accompaniments to a door opening and the starting of the car, and will likewise in this soundscape. BMW, please do not do this. And viewers, if you think this is just reserved for the i4, think again. This soundscape is actually going to be rolled out across all their electric vehicles. So maybe let your thoughts be known to them sooner than later so that they don't go adding some annoying sounds that you'll be looking for those speakers and going, I'm going to cut the wires. Okay, now I don't want to spend much time on this next story as the future of Holden in Australia, that's like GM to those outside of Australia, is very much in doubt, especially on their announcement a few weeks ago that they would exit the highly fragmented right-hand drive market and retire the Holden brand in Australia by 2021. Seriously, on top of the thousands who lost their jobs several years ago, this is like the last nail in the coffin for the 600 of the company's remaining 800 workers in Australia and New Zealand, and it's going to be devastating for them and their families. Hopefully, a buyer will come forward and salvage the brand and will bring GM's electric cars down under when they eventually make it a market? Maybe? But I digress. This past week, General Motors did a big showcase of its electric vehicle strategy to release 20 electric vehicles under its various brands by 2023. All four of GM's brands like the Chevy, Cadillac, GMC and Buick will be launching new EVs on a regular basis. soon, with the notable one being like the Hummer EV in both pickup and SUV formats. That should be very interesting. Under the floor, they showed off its new modular electric vehicle platform with improved battery pack called Ultium. Yes, Ultium. These will vary in size from 50 to 200 kilowatt hours and could, in theory, allow for a driving range up to 600 kilometers on one charge. In addition to the new modular system, it will enable either front wheel, rear wheel, or all-wheel drive and performance all-wheel drive versions. Now, you know that I don't like bringing you news of plans to do things, concept vehicles that probably won't make it to market, and what the like. A really good point made by Rob Marrow of the Tesla Daddy podcast, and now YouTube channel, links up here somewhere, is that why are car makers like VW, GM, and more spreading themselves so thin on the ground and promising so many makes and models of electric cars, when in reality, they barely even make a successful EV as it is? Sure, BMW, VW, and GM all have electric cars, but their success pales in comparison to Tesla. And why is that? Is it features, design, capable range, trust? I could do an in-depth on this, but the reality is here and well, it's now. They're all playing catch-up to arguably the smallest car maker in the mainstream domain, and learning that it takes billions to do so. And despite the roadmap that has already been done by Tesla, they're overextending themselves, and I think, well, this is what can happen, and they'll fail in the long term. What do you think? Do I have this right? Does Rob have it right? I got to agree with him. Like, honestly, start either with a really expensive one, sell lots of those and make the money off them, then go to the medium level, then go to the low level, so on and so forth. Just saying that you're going to be doing 20 cars the next 5-7 years? Just start by producing one really good one. Is it really that hard? You got a lot of clever people working for you. Oh, and quick side note, I really do hope that all car makers stick around, because you know what? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. People buy expensive cars because they like the look of them, they like the brand, they like something about them that isn't necessarily Tesla. And that's okay. Variety is the spice of life, and by having competition in the marketplace means that we can get prices lower. Otherwise, you have monopoly and well, prices will go up. Okay, time for one last segment, and this week's FYI, that's like a short 2-minute piece designed to get the facts straight around renewables, electric vehicles and more. And well, it's going to counter the argument that EVs are dirtier than internal combustion engines. I've covered this late last year following a similar article in The Guardian by Hans Werner Sinn. And well, today I'm repeating the exercise because, well, The Australian, they published this article by Dr. Bjorn Lomborg of the Copenhagen Consensus Center. Hint, he's not actually located in Denmark anymore. In a moment, I'll record this FYI segment, but I'll also post it separately on this playlist up here. Alright, so that you can post it on your socials, especially when you see someone claiming this to be the actual truth when in fact it's not. Okay, ready? Here we go. EVs are not clean. Yep, you heard right. They emit more carbon, take more of the Earth's precious resources, and are no better than an internal combustion engine vehicle. Let's talk about that. Appearing in the Australian newspaper on the 7th of March 2020, this article by Dr. Bjorn Lomborg of the Copenhagen Consensus Center claims that EVs are driven fewer kilometers per year than conventional cars. But according to US data, this isn't true. In fact, they're actually driven about the same number of miles per year as a conventional car, with the exception of small battery electric vehicles like the Nissan Leaf first generation. Have you also seen that some Teslas are doing, on average per month, more than 17,000 miles? He goes on to claim that electric cars are barely better for the environment, noting that while CO2 emissions don't come from the car itself, but instead from fossil fuels like coal and gas. So, Bjorn, you're assuming that people who own EVs don't fill up with electricity from their own solar arrays, or maybe pay for 100% renewable power? Maybe? Huh? Well then, let's assume that an EV is filled up with electricity from the Australian grid. From 2018 data, on average across the whole country, 90% of our power came from renewable sources. If you live in Tasmania or ACT, that number is now 95 to 100% renewable, meaning that you can be doing guilt-free driving with thanks to hydro, wind, solar and battery storage. Now, this figure will only get better every year. So Bjorn, even though you're wrong now, you're going to be even more wrong as time goes on. Indeed, whilst a petrol car will, for its life, add more and more carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, which sticks around and warms the planet for another 20 to 200 years, an EV will produce less and less emissions over its lifetime and actually go negative with its CO2 footprint. And I won't even go into your false claim that EVs consume more CO2 in the total lifetime, as this has been examined by multiple scientific groups and disproven for Europe, America and Australia too. Oh, and PS, perhaps look at EV subsidies in Australia and, well, realise that we actually don't have any down under. My name's Chris Vanderstock, and if you want to learn more about this, please look me up on YouTube. Alright, well, that will do it for today's show. I want to thank you once again for watching. If you haven't already, do smash that subscribe button. It seriously does support the channel. What it means is that companies reach out to me and offer up new and interesting stories that I can give to you guys, and it seriously does help the channel. To my Patreons, thank you for your ongoing support. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, if you've got any questions or comments, whack them down below. As per usual, I put all my references and links to things that I've presented to you today, so you can have a read them yourself. And if you want to find out more, yeah, just get out there, spread the word. Be a good corporate citizen, or good citizen of the earth rather, and yeah, let's get some positive messaging around about what it means to actually live with renewable power supply. You don't have to go without. See all this? This is renewably powered. You can do it too. Anyway, you know what you can do. Be good, be green.